I'm hungry.
Nothing like a full belly.
I'm not feeling too hot.
How can this be happening?
Cheers, Wyatt. Good to see you, brother.
How you doing, brother?
Good.
Mikey, nice deer. Kevin?
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Well, it's a huge honor for you to be with me, you guys. I watched all the seasons and I love the show, but I gotta say, for two reasons why I really like season 10 was the environment. I mean, North Saskatchewan, beautiful. I just loved it, and that was why I really got tuned in. But the other was the storylines, the storylines of each individuals, especially you guys, the last three. The storylines were so solid. I mean, because I'm a writer or whatever, but I focus on storylines. And, you know, we'll start off with Alan. I mean, you won. Cheers to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers, brother.
When I'm in the bush alone, I feel like my senses just ignite, and I feel like I belong.
Just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
Fantastic. And, you know, we'll let you guys talk about the storyline, but it was fantastic that you were an outdoor educator. I know I've been an outdoor educator for years, and just I was like, yeah, fantastic that you're on and you won. And then Wyatt, like, yeah, well, you just live up the road for love of God. And you seem to love the woods so much. You grew up and your whole family introduced you to it and everything else.
This is my world. I grew up hunting, fishing with my father, my grandfather. It's the same forest that I go moose hunting in every year. I'm gonna find everything I need to find.
Well, same with Alan, your dad introduced it to. That was like to my heart because my dad did that to me, right? So I just loved your character. And then Mikey, man, how many mice can you eat?
There's the rat trap. He's gonna come in here and he's gonna get running. There it is. Got him.
Oh, that's right. I think I got 21 while I was out there.
Oh man, that's crazy. I just love the show. So just a few questions. I know you've been asked a lot of questions through the media, so I'm not going to ask you the typical questions that you've answered already, like what's your best gear, what's your whatever. We can get into that, but each individual, will start with Alan. Like, what was your main motivation to sign up for this show?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. It was every Friday. I've told the story so many times. And Mikey and Wyatt, I'm sure they know this story. Because on Fridays we did a carving project in my outdoor ed class, and because it was kind of a quiet day, and you know, I was trying to get kids to come in because Fridays is typically a day when attendance is not as good. So I tried to make it fun by that's the day we're going to work on our walking sticks. Mikey, you would have loved that class. I would have had to give you extra work. You would have been done on the first day. And so to make more of an incentive, I'd show old seasons of Alone on the big screen in front of the TV. So the kids would come in, I'd turn the lights down a bit, they'd grab the carving, they'd work on their sticks, and I'd show old seasons of Alone that you can find on the internet. And the kids started noticing that a lot of stuff they were doing was a lot of stuff that we were doing in class, like, you know, the debris hut shelters, the ferro rods, the bow and drill fires, you know, fishing techniques, all that stuff. And we started encouraging me, Mr. Tenta, you should apply for the show. I'm like, no, why would I want to do that and starve to death, blah, blah, blah. So that went on. And finally, I just, I saw on Facebook or somebody emailed me that there was a casting call. And I just threw in a quick email, and then it all went from there.
That's awesome. And why the same thing? Or I think it was different for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've watched Alone since it came out, and I love the show. And every year, everybody was just like, "Why don't you join? Why don't you try?" And I'm like, "Yeah, things aren't right." And this year, you know, my kids were old enough. My wife was done school and working. You know, business was going good. Lots of work lined up for the guys, and I had a good group of employees that have been with me a long time. Because, yeah, you can't have worries out there, and you know, like, you know. And that's one thing, you know, it really helps just to have that peace of mind when you're out there that everything's okay at home, you know. And that's why I signed the thing that if anything too major went on, go ahead and contact me. So I always knew that if there was anything serious in the back of my head, I'd know about it. So it gave me a peace of mind. And I told my wife that if she had any question about whether it was serious enough to phone me and pull me out, ask my father and he'll tell you yes or no. And you know, that gave me peace of mind out there.
That's fantastic. Now, Mikey, it was not your motivation to eat a bunch of mice. It was another motivation, right? A very serious one.
Oh yeah. I've applied more than once. Love the show since it started, and there have been times that I was contacted, and it just, like Wyatt said, it just wasn't right. It just wasn't the right time, you know. And then on a whim, that season, I actually just randomly sent the email, you know, and they got back to me, and it was just, everything fell perfect. I could go do my casting videos. I could, you know, everything was just lined up great for it. And then on top of that, like everybody knows, if they've watched the season, they know good and well, you know, it was for my son. That was the main reason that I went out there this year, was, you know, try to give him a better life.
And I love that part. I loved it. I really did. Yeah, it was fantastic. The one cool thing I found out through Wyatt is that there's now a GoFundMe program for your son. And
oh yeah,
yeah, it's doing really well.
It is doing really well. It is just an honor. You have no idea how humbling it is. Just the humanity of people. I've never known generosity like that before, you know. And just random strangers. These people don't know me. They watched my story and said, you know, wow, this guy was willing to do this, you know, and out of the kindness of their heart, they were willing to donate, you know, to actually give my son a better life. And it's amazing.
I had that feeling when I was talking to Wyatt the other night, just on another program he was on, and I got the feeling there was a good, solid community amongst all the alone people, right? Is that true, or?
Oh yes. Everybody tries to, you know, help each other through it in any way that they can. Everybody talks to each other. Everybody's got everybody's phone number. I have both of their phone numbers, you know. So at any time you can just message anybody. I was talking to Timogen the other night. It really is. Yeah, it really is. It's an amazing, it's a family. And you never know that until you've been through it. And then these people just come out of the woodwork. Hey, you know, I was on season whatever, and you know, it's amazing.
That's cool. Now, Alan, talk about how many Canadians are winning. Like, it's out of control.
Yeah, I mean, last year, you know, Juan Pablo, and the year before that, Timogen did well, and this year, number 1 and 2 were Canadians. So yeah, because we're only represented like usually 10 or 20% of the people that go out there, right? But and I think what was it? The Bear Brothers one, was that season 3?
Was it 3 or 4?
It was 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
And but before that, we had Clay Hayes and Jordan, and you know, Roland, and you know, there's been enough U.S. Boys winner too.
Oh yeah.
I want to see a Canadian girl win, the first girl to win, other than you know, of course, Winia. But it was a different challenge. It's kind of like the Baird brothers. It's a different challenge. Like, God, I'll tell you, you want to throw me and Mikey, or me and Alan, or Alan and Mikey out there together, Christ, we'll stay out there for the next 10 years. Well, I'd rather somebody better looking than those two, but
hey. That's great.
I'd rather be a non-male. How's that?
I love the whole thing too, where I was asking people the last couple of years about the Canadians winning over the Americans, whatever, and I love the answer. There is no answer. They didn't care. They didn't care, and I love that answer. It was like we're all together. I don't know what the hell that question is stupid, and I think that was a really good answer. Of all the items that you guys brought, what was the one item you're like, thank goodness I chose that? Alan?
To answer that question, I think if I was going to go out there again, I think I'd take the same 10 items. There's not, they each played their part. I used snare wire to set snares, but I don't think anybody caught anything in the snare except things you couldn't eat, maybe one squirrel.
I got one squirrel.
But without the snare wire, I wouldn't have been able to build my lures. And I used it for making the door of my shelter and all that stuff. So it was just such a handy tool having wire there, even though I didn't utilize it for its intended purpose. I used it for a lot of construction and building things, and primarily fishing lures, and building building the steel leaders on your lure so the pike teeth wouldn't wouldn't cut through the line because I mean I had one. I had a leader on my lure, and I lost a Wyatt sized pike 2 feet from my feet because he inhaled it right down into his gullet. He went, and when I set the hook, it was like I pulled it against a razor blade. There was like no resistance. It just cut, and I was 20-pound, really expensive trilene big game fishing line meant for high abrasion and stuff like that. And I went, no, it was massive. Like it looked like a pine tree floating towards me. It was just, it had to be a 15, 20-pound pike or even bigger. I don't know. And it turned around and lumbered slowly away into the deep. No, it was pretty
with
wild.
Your lure, right? That's the
With
part.
my
that
lure.
sucks. Yeah, I had a couple I missed, but yeah, and this after I lost the first one, I was like, I gotta have a leader. And I put a leader on. I had a good 8-10 inch leader. Same thing, and I swear it was the same fish because it was in the same spot. And that's how I got those big fish, was targeting those. I've learned over the years, my brother being a Bass Pro fisherman and stuff, big fish, it's like a big buck run in the same area. A big fish holds the same area. So you look for that prime area where one is, and that's what I look for. And that's why I moved my gill net so many times. But that big one, I couldn't get my gill net there, and I wanted to snag him because he took 2 of my lures. But the second one, I had that leader, and same thing, and he come right over, and I probably had a 5-inch lure on too. So that thing, and just whack. Oh, sick.
Crazy. Yeah,
man, I wish I could have brought some of the lures. I would love to show you guys the lures that I made. I probably made 15, 20 lures out there. Never once got a single hit on anything. I made brokeback minnows. I made ula boppers. I made deep divers. I made spoons. All kinds of stuff, man. Never got a hit off of anything.
But you would have made a good mouse trap.
Jeez.
Oh man. All right. So a question for you all too is what was the thing that you got out of it at the end? Like you went into it with an idea, but when you finished and went through all that time, I mean, what was it? Started at 52 days to the Alan, you were at like 54 days or something? No.
66.
Good Lord. Okay. So individually, what did you get out of it after the experience?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question. So many different things. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is the importance of friends and family. Just how much your wife and your kids and your friends mean to you, and just really what's important. What's really important, and your health, your loved ones, and just made me realize that we have more than we need. There's only there's certain things that you need in life. You need a family, love, a good partner, your healthy children. And, and I had that, and I realized that everything else is just stuff, you get pleasure from it and enjoyment, but I didn't miss any of my shit when I was out there. I didn't miss my motorbike. I didn't miss, my favorite, whatever it was. What I missed were things that I truly knew that were important. My family and my wife and my friends and my nice comfortable home, and just my life in general, not the stuff. I don't know. Did that make sense?
Oh, it definitely makes sense. Yeah. So
Okay.
Why was it the same for you, or?
Yeah, it just everything in general. It was, I actually had a great time out there. I really did, and I felt like a kid again in a lot of ways. I was doing things that I haven't been able to do in a long time, and like the reward of catching that first fish on a rod I built and a reel I built and a lure I built. I've never done that in my life, even though I know how to do all those things and what have you. Even if I build a rod and a reel, I'm going to throw a Rapala or a Williams wobbler out there or something like that. I'm not going to throw a lure. I'm not going to sit there and make a gold hellfire, or a little a trout baby 1 or 2, or, Mikey carved me some beautiful lure there back at camp before we ever went out. A beautiful little kind of similar diver minnow bait, and he used some berries and he dotted some eyes. I remember that, Mikey. Now you
Yeah, I
didn't go
remember
through,
that.
but you didn't put hooks on it for me.
Yeah.
He's a dumbass Canadian. He's not going to put hooks on this. He's just going to go throw it, eh? But
I will
no,
never coach my fishing skills.
The thing about it was even what we're getting today, it's a never-ending gift. Like the conversations Mikey and I have, and Alan and I have, and Melanie and I have, and Jody and I talked to Lee the other night, and I was like, man, how's things going? And he's having a real struggle. And he had a purpose just like Alan. Like he provides a lot of stuff for his community and stuff. And I offered him said, we should start a GoFundMe page. And he felt terrible that he can't afford to buy a new plane, but because it is a profit business, he doesn't feel right, and I'm like, but he doesn't make a profit or be able to afford a new plane. That's he makes enough to make a living and that's it. And but he's that kind of guy that looks at it so different. So I'm going to talk to him a little bit more about it, because you know what? It's the generosity of a lot of people, as Mikey's, I've watched everything, and Mikey and Hazel have put out the thank yous to the $5 donations as much as the $5,000 donations, because they all mean something, because you've done what you can, and that's a great thing. And Lee deserves that, because he looks at it because he makes a profit, but every man has to make a living, and that's what I was trying to explain to him. But he's that kind of guy, and nobody will get to know that because he didn't get to spend enough time on the show, and for people to realize how he's one of the best human beings you'll ever meet in your life. And well, you guys remember they said that about all of us, and I mean all of us, that it was the best collective group of people that they've had together on Alone since it started. And that's
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great compliment, and it was a great part of something to share. There was integrity and love and honesty and help, and all the elements that make people humans.
That's fantastic. So we're only got a couple of minutes left here, and with Mikey, and just tell us about what happened after the show, because you lost. I mean, Ellen won, fantastic, but you didn't really lose, did you?
Oh no. As everybody's saying, you gain so much from this, just the experience, and not even just the GoFundMe, I'm not talking about the monetary anything. Thank everybody for that. You all have my just deepest gratitude, and if I could give every one of them a hug, I would. But also just and I didn't really go into it to, not to sound like an asshole here, but to really just raise awareness for everybody, I guess is what I'm saying. That wasn't my main goal there. My main goal was to be the guy that got picked up at the end of it to get that big check. That was the main goal going into it. But seeing afterward all the awareness that was raised for the autistic community and everything, it's melted my heart. Completely different person because of it. You were saying, what did we take away from it? Oh man, just a huge respect for everyone and everything around me. And just a happiness to now I'm able to stay home with my family more. I don't have to be away as much as I was. I was working 7 days a week most of the time, Now I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm still able to make a living. And now we're getting private therapy for Nikolais because of the GoFundMe and stuff like that. It's a win all the way around for me and my family, for everybody. There is no losing. Even if I don't care if you just went out there and you lasted 1 day, you learned something. You learned something from that 1 day. That 1 day taught you that, maybe I shouldn't have, such a big head about it, or maybe I need to regroup and think about what I'm doing, or, I've been out here for, just a few hours and already I'm missing everybody that I know, and that's where I need to be,
Holy shit, there's bears here.
Man, I wish I would have found a bear.
Right?
Me too.
I ain't even gonna. I talked. Me and you's gonna have a chat about that later. Because that's. Anyways, I try not to say anything bad. But there is no losing. If you went out there, like I say, you spent 1 day, or you spent 66 days, or you spent 99 days. Doesn't matter. There is no losing. Whenever I first came out of the woods, that's what I felt like. I felt like, man, I have lost. I came out here. I wasted so much time. We sacrificed so much for me to be here, and I failed, you know. And then, 10 months later, all of a sudden, my whole world shifts. Everything that was negative in my life is gone. And now it's just everything positive is able to shine through, you know?
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I'll drink to that one. Question. You're going to have. Oh,
well, I think, back to that question, I think maybe, but then I wouldn't have been able to ice fish. I was wondering about the axe. That was the one I was always worried about, the axe.
Okay, so Alan, I'm recording now. I got to sort of tell everybody what I said. What item should you not?
Wyatt got mad at me,
and you guys started arguing. You were supposed to be this peaceful, loving community, and yet you're like.
Wyatt and I can tell each other where to go and still be friends. We haven't
totally. And that's what I love. That's what I love. I think everyone in the group can, because we're all just so open and honest, and it was like Alan. We were allowed to show our things, our 2-minute clip. None of us had seen them. We're at camp. And they said, is there anybody that doesn't want theirs showing, anybody that doesn't? And all of us said, yes, we want to show them. We want to see them, except for Alan. And Alan said to the whole group of us that I think there might be something on my entrance thing that might give me an advantage, and therefore I don't want it shown. But because of that, I'm gonna leave and goodbye. Good night.
Well, what kind of person would I be if I didn't show mine but watched everybody else?
But that's what I was going to, Alan. That is your integrity, and like what you exemplified to all your students by letting that marten go, and by letting that duck go, and playing by the rules all the way through the game. I take my hat off to that, man. There ain't many people left in this world. I know a lot of people, and and you exemplified everything you were trying to do out there by not only teaching your students the skills and stuff that are required to be, but the integrity and the honesty of being a person. And man, that's a beautiful thing. And you are that guy. And I tell everybody that, and I tell everybody I could never have lost to a better man. And no, thank you.
It's true.
Thank you.
It's true, man.
That.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Am I the only one drinking real whiskey?
No, this is what I'm drinking.
Oh, okay.
Okay, mine's tea.
I didn't know what everybody was going to drink, so I brought one from Canada, and then I brought one from Ireland, and then, of course, because they're the best, a couple from Scotland. Just because, you can never be over-prepared.
That's right.
Hey, was that tough for? Well, maybe not Mikey, whatever. But was that tough for you to be out for 60 days and not have the pleasures of life, like a good camp chair, good food, and also whiskey? Like, was that an issue with anybody, or?
Who's that question for? I missed that. Sorry.
Oh, everybody. So the things that you enjoyed in life at home, and then you
miss flavor.
Have that, whether it was a good, comfortable chair or whiskey. Because I like my scotch. Did that disappear after 5 or 6 days, and then you say, okay, I'm not thinking about that anymore? Or
yeah, I think like I was worried about coffee, so I quit drinking coffee about a month before we left, just to kind of get my body used to it, because I don't remember the last morning I hadn't drank 1 or 2 cups of coffee, right? So I was worried that. So the first couple of days I got headaches, but then it wasn't too bad. And I don't know. I'm like I'm like Wyatt. I had fun till day 50. Like it was
That
pretty
was
fun.
the day, wasn't it, Alan? Like
day
day
50?
50 sucked.
Yeah. So
Day
I
50 did
literally
that.
it wasn't like I'm like Wyatt. I enjoyed it. Like I was motivated. I was happy. I had food. You know, not enough food, but I was eating every day. And I thought, but as soon
Well,
as
and
I
you
woke
just
up,
bought that new real lakefront property that
that's right. Yeah. But from day 50 to 66, those 16 days was a grind. It was. It got really cold. It never warmed up, did it? Why? Like, did it ever
No.
warm up even for a day? I don't think it did.
No.
And it was windy and snowy, and you couldn't fish anymore because, I mean, the lake was icing up around the edges. Where we were fishing was covered in ice and snow, and it was too dangerous to go down to my fishing rock. So my days were spent mostly just like Wyatt, getting firewood, kind of preparing for the night. And I stopped being able to sleep at night. Like my schedules got backwards because we had to check in every night, and my yellow brick wouldn't work in my teepee. So, and I didn't like to get up and get dressed and have to go outside to put my yellow brick outside. So what I do, when I was waking up at the middle of the night, I'd check in the middle of the night, and I had to throw my yellow brick outside for it to in the snow for it to work. So yeah, it just, my whole sleeping schedule was messed up. And so I'd sleep longer in the day, then I'd get firewood, then I'd go to bed again. So I was spending 19 hours in the shelter sometimes for those times. Yeah.
That was the hardest part, eh? Like,
yeah,
trying to find enough things to do. Like you and I, and we stayed busy the whole time. Like we weren't like, as much as I respect Juan Pablo's strategy to going in and winning, and he did win it. So you can't take nothing away from it. But I couldn't do that, man. And neither could you. I know that. You couldn't just sit in your shelter 24/7 and fast and, I'll walk down, I'll chop a hole, I'll get water, and then I'll go back to bed,
Yeah.
It's like hibernating for a bear, and I don't have that, no, I can't do it.
But firewood was a lifesaver for me. Like like it got me out walking around looking for dead trees. So, you'd fall, you'd drag them back, you'd process them. Like that was healthy for me to get my firewood. And I tried to always keep 3 days ahead in case I got sick or it was a bad blizzard or something. I always wanted to have 3 to 4 days of fire in my shelter. And I didn't have fire all the time. I lit a fire at night to cook my fish. And then I'd light a fire, then I'd wake up and I'd heat up my rocks, and I'd wake up at about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'd have to get dressed and light another fire to heat up my teepee again and heat up my rocks again to get it through the night. So, yeah.
But I was exhausted. I was exhausted, man. I was barely sleeping.
Same.
Yeah, I had so many. They were bringing me. They brought me more cards. They gave you the 2 little packs of cards. They brought me an extra pack because I was filming like 22, 23 hours a day.
Really?
Yeah, for days. For days in between checks. You know what I'm saying? For days. I had insomnia so bad I just could not sleep. I would just lay there and stare at the dark. It was so dark in my shelter that you didn't know your eyes were open until you blinked.
I know, eh? That's crazy. Experiencing true darkness. There was a couple times where, because earlier in the game where the time I was spending my days was further away from my teepee, like 300 or 400 yards. And I'd clean all my fish down there. I had a couple fishing spots I'd use down there. And a couple times I got stuck down there at night, like when it was like I hadn't started walking back yet. But one night my headlamp, my rechargeable headlamp was starting to go, how it would flash. I had it on high too much, and I barely made it back with light because honestly, if it was so dark that night, like I turned off my headlight a couple times, you couldn't see it was cloud cover. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced true darkness like that. It was insane. And I thought, no sense of direction. Like you couldn't see anything, not water reflecting, no stars, nothing. I would have had to go to the shoreline and like crawl along the rocks to some sort of landmark that I'd recognize by feel to try to find my teepee. So I always made sure I had a few extra batteries in my pocket, because that could have been a freaky situation, especially if it was cold, not being able to make it back to your shelter because it was just that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Kevin, not taking away from your questions, but Alan, I have never asked you.
Okay.
I know you talked to the elders there when we were at Arctic Lodges about, you know, their opinions, and I know that one of the elders told you about the teepee.
Yeah.
But I've never asked you, what was that one thing on that tape at the beginning that you?
Oh, Luke asked me. He sent me a text. I told him, okay, so and I did do it, but they never showed it because I didn't catch a fish. The thing I didn't want to see, I developed a way. It's called the arrow cast. To cast my line way out there with an arrow. I had submitted that in my casting tape. Yeah. So I made this thing where I stuck my spool in the ground with a stake, and I developed a couple of ways. I had a few options to connect the line onto the end of your arrow. I drilled a hole through the end of my arrow and had some leader, and my arrow was my float, and it was like a tip up. When you got a bite, the arrow would tip up in the air, and honestly, man, you could shoot at 100 yards. So I was always worried that the spot I'd get wouldn't be deep, and the deep water would be further out. So this was my strategy to be able to fish deeper water. That's the secret. Okay. I didn't want to give away.
So okay, how did you use that then? With my whole problem with that, I had the same kind of theory, but my whole problem is how I could keep my line from tangling and how I could get down deep. Even though I was getting out far, I wasn't getting down deep.
Yeah, well, I solved that, but every arrow you make is disposable. You're not going to get it back. If you want to drop your line off, you got to put two.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so you weren't using the arrows. You weren't using your line.
I both. No, I made one. I made.
Right.
I made
okay.
Arrow.
Yeah.
And if you put like a knock on the far end of the arrow, and you rest your line in there with a weight on either side, it holds in place. And you can rip it out there, then it just falls off the arrow when it sinks.
Got it.
But I didn't need it, and I made it. Like Ryan told me, he goes, "Hey man, if you're gonna do the arrow cast, you know, it'd be awesome." And I did do it, but I never caught a fish on it, so they never showed it. There was no.
And that's what I was saying about, you know, everybody going on about Mikey, and you know, Mikey and I had this conversation the other night. You know, you and I are trout fishermen and pike fishermen. You know, Mikey catches sunfish and bluegills and bass and shit down in Jordan, catfish, right? and it was the one big thing I told Mikey, because he makes a beautiful lure. Like the guy's a carving wizard. But you and I let ours drop. We let our, you know, we knew we had to get down in that deeper water. We looked for those, and that was the one advantage that we had. But you know, we also had disadvantages to plant life and stuff for Mel and Ann and stuff. And like Taz is that, I still think that's the best boat ever built on Alone.
Yeah, he didn't even have to have outriggers.
Yeah, he didn't need outriggers or anything.
Yeah, nothing.
No, that was a thing of beauty.
I did an interview with Taz, man, and I told him, I said that was probably the best one I've ever seen. No outriggers, completely stable, man, and I don't know if you've guys seen that interview on his YouTube. You need to check that out. He's got a great idea for what if he could do it again with the same things, you know, the way he would do it. He actually said that he would build the boat and not worry about a shelter. And work on his shelter a little bit at a time and use the boat as his shelter while it was still warm. Yep. So great idea. So you did make an arrow?
That works fine until you get frozen out in the center of the lake and can't get back for 3 weeks.
What was that?
So you made an arrow out there?
Yeah. I made one. I made one specifically for the arrow cast. Nice. I also made a specific spool for the arrow cast. And I made a big lure. It kind of looked like a 5 of diamonds out of a can. I pounded it over and over and over again and put snare wire and a hook onto it. And I was just and I did fish with it. I cast it out there, and I had about as much leader as I could, maybe 5 feet, and I troll it in. But I didn't really need it because I caught fish from 4 different spots when I was out there, and I did it more just to do it, and because it was on my casting tape, and I don't know if I caught a fish on it, it would have been cool. But I tried it a few times, and then I thought, what am I doing, man? I'm wasting time using a method that I'm not sure works when I could be fishing my other method when I know I'm catching fish. So
the reason
if you shot all that film, like you shot a lot of film, obviously, right? What was the one scene individually? What was the one scene where like, oh, come on, they didn't use that? What the?
That's a good question. Go ahead, Mike.
I got one. Yeah. Okay, so that's the reason I was asking you too, because Cade went out there and made arrows. I made arrows. I made arrows with bone tips, with glass tips, with wooden tips. I'm talking about, okay, and they didn't show any of them.
They showed your arrows. They showed you make some arrows.
They showed me start on one, and then they showed them up, but they didn't show me kill anything with them. They didn't show me attaching the arrowheads and the fletchings and all this stuff to them. I really wish they would have shown that, or all the grouse that I killed. I killed 19 grouse out there. I think everybody got to see.
You did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, yeah. I guess for me,
you killed more than Alan and I combined.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
I've already figured it out. You got 5 and I got 9, I think it was, Alan.
Yeah, and there weren't many grouse in my spot because I had no berries. And but
I had to move to find the berries, man.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, from my original side, I moved about 2 hours.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to focus on my fishing and walking through the woods in my area. I mean, they were literally like trees. I could barely walk, man. Like it was such an effort to go anywhere from my camp, especially around the bay. So the best way for me to get around was just walking on the rocks around, but there were parts that I couldn't. So
and they were slippery as shit.
It took a lot of energy for me to move around, even to find berries. So I realized that, man, I'm walking to the other side of my bay to find some berry patches, but I'm burning way more calories than the 3 handful of berries I'm going to get. But where I did burn quite a few calories was the peak of the moose rut, where there was a spot at the far end of my bay I would hike to, and there was like a cliff that I'd sit on top of, and it was a perfect natural tree stand, and there was a little clearing, and I'd call, and they didn't show 1 minute of me moose hunting, and I did a lot of moose hunting. They didn't show me calling, they didn't show me. I did a couple of practice shots on stumps and stuff I was shooting, and yeah, I did. I shot 2 squirrels. Both of them were headshots, just fluky. They didn't show any of those. And they showed me shoot one of my grouse. That's it. But I wasn't complaining about my edit at all. Like I think I got a pretty good edit. But there was. Me
too.
Yeah, I mean, I think they showed me catch 9 fish, where I caught close to 100 pounds. I the best I could figure between 90
and I figured it. What did we figure? You and I figured out you got like 22 lake trout or something.
Yeah.
And we figured like an average of 4 or 5 pounds a piece.
Yeah, 3 to 6.
Pike.
Yeah. So
whitefish.
Yeah. So yeah, there's probably between 90 and 100 pounds. You probably caught a few more than me with those big Lakers, but I never let myself eat more than half a fish a day, except on my birthday.
I got a big Laker.
What's that?
I got a big Laker.
You got a big Laker?
You had too many whiskey there, Alan. No,
I've only had a couple.
They were all big.
No, you caught a lot of big fish.
I didn't get a big Laker.
Did I? No. I said, did I say you got a big Laker?
Yeah, all the big Lakers I got. All right, here we go, brother.
That's a full one. That's the 3 fingers you got there, Wyatt.
See, there's twice.
Yeah, I forget what
I learned from all my teachers was to listen.
Man, I don't know what I would have done if I could have caught 10 fish.
Why did you say something? I'm just kidding.
What?
Mikey, you're going to add in there that it's a totally different environment from where you're from, right? So you go to northern Saskatchewan. I mean, right now, like you're probably in heat wave where you are, right?
Oh yeah, it's October, late October, and it's 70 something degrees out here. I think I told Wyatt it was 75 degrees when I killed that deer this morning.
I love where you're from. I think that was really interesting though. Is you're talking to the 2 Canadians that are kind of used to that environment, and you're not. Like at all.
Oh man, I owe a lot to both of these guys right here. I would not have gotten as far as I did. Like I said, I got down to 2 arrows left, and one of them was a gold tip that I got from Wyatt. I still have that arrow. I busted it up shooting at a martin. I hit a rock. It blew the knockout. It jammed up the tip. It messed it all up, but I still have it. And I actually learned how to, and maybe inadvertently, but I actually learned how to stalk those grouse and how to kind of walk up on them from Alan. A grouse actually flew into the path, into our little trail at base camp. And I asked Alan, Alan was there, and I said, is that a grouse? I had never seen one before. I said, is that a grouse? He said, yes, that's a spruce grouse. He said, if you come up on them such and such a way, you can actually put an arrow over their back and they'll look at you and you can shoot at them again, you know? And so maybe inadvertently, but that it taught me something, you know, and learn how to call for moose. Didn't see a moose, man. I wish I would have, but anyways, didn't see a moose, but Wyatt taught me how to call for moose, you know. Even Dave was out there trying to give me tips on fishing before we went out, you know. And so all the Canadians, man, they really helped me out a lot. Because if they wouldn't have pointed out these little subtle things to me, I'm somebody that pays attention when I want to learn something. When you want to learn it, you're more willing to, you know, I guess you could say. But everything that they said, even when they were just talking amongst themselves or we were just all having a chat, every little thing that everybody said, I was kind of storing in a little memory bank up there, you know. Oh, this kind of moss can do this, this, and this. You know, oh, Wyatt said, and it actually showed Wyatt's mushrooms. I did that same thing because Wyatt told me that if a rat has ate on it and you can see the shit on it, then you could eat it. I went out there and found some mushrooms and I cooked it over a fire. I ate some and I sent a little message in on the yellow brick that said, I have no idea what this mushroom is, but I just ate it. And in 2 hours, I'm going to eat the rest of it. And about 2.5 hours later, because they don't get right back to you. About 2.5, 3 hours later, they were like, please refrain from eating those mushrooms. And I messaged back and I said, too late. I've already ate the rest. Just letting you know, be ready.
And they go on about that. And, like, oh, well, the animals don't have the liver and shit. Or they have different livers and they have different. Oh, yeah, okay. People just don't know enough about how to do. It's the same they said about my mother teaching me about sticking up on my tongue. It's a process of elimination. And I had already studied out all the mushrooms out there that are going to kill you and all the rest of it. And they made it a general thing. And I was telling Mikey, like, I went around camp and we picked up those honey mushrooms and we picked up a few boletes. And you didn't trust mushrooms for the shit. And
no.
Didn't
never have. Right? Around here, you got like 5 that you can eat, and the rest will kill you. You know, right. So yeah, but I don't mess with them.
They would kill you. There was none out there that were going to kill you. They were delicious. So it was like the one I had. I was 99.9% sure it was good to eat, but I never held one in my hand. You know, and that's that part that starts your mind guessing and all the rest of it. And you know what? Alan's got to agree with me on this. Dude, you handling the cold that was out there. Like Alan and I are used to this cold. We're like northern, we're hunters and out there and that shit. And Alan, were you as cold as I was, brother?
The nights were tough. The nights were very tough.
Can you imagine how that poor bastard from Georgia that's never seen snow would have felt like?
There was.
I will cheers to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was definitely home court advantage into play. Definitely.
Down
to the final 3.
And you know what? Not to jump into anything here, it just crossed my mind that I think I sent you a message, Alan, but I haven't personally congratulated you. Congratulations, man.
Oh, you did. You did. Yeah.
Okay. I wish I would have been there. I was there when Wyatt came out.
Yeah.
I was able to greet Wyatt when he came out, and I wish one more day, and I would have been there when you came out.
I just missed you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. This is a funny story because when I flew back with Lisa and to camp the first time and I got out of the helicopter, I've made videos about, you probably watched my Q&A and I've said it numerous times that why I turned around, boom, there he was, this big, hairy, skinny bastard, wrapped his arms around me and we looked at each other and I go, holy Wyatt. Oh, am I allowed to swear? Sorry. You look like shit. Wyatt looks at me and goes, dude, you look worse than I do. You look like shit too. Bah! We laughed and we hugged. It's pretty funny.
It was a great moment.
It was an awesome moment.
Yep.
And apparently
It
it's on
was.
video. It's on video somewhere, but I haven't seen it.
They didn't show that, man. And you know what? That's one of the things that shows that, like, it's like being a comrade in like World War II, where, yeah, you shot down the last plane, but man, we were in that war together. And,
Yeah.
it's that kind of respect that, like, man, everything I said to you that day, I meant from the bottom of my heart.
That
And
was classy. Yeah.
Your class, we all are, that whole group. And there's been even Lee, you and I spoke with Lee in the restaurant when we were having pizza and wings the first night.
Yeah,
You and I phoned him on speakerphone.
Yeah.
And that's the camaraderie of this group and this beautiful, Jody and Melanie and the things she does and the way they help other people. And, it's awesome. Luke, Luke's right in there front and center. Taz, Anne's kind of like me, where she hates social media, but she does her thing and she puts her posts on, and she's a beautiful person. Cade,
Oh yeah, I love Ann to death, man.
Yeah.
Cade, I talk to Cade almost every day that he's available. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are you guys both going down to his place next June?
No, I'm not
open
that I
to
know of. He hasn't said anything.
I'm also hauling him up here for a hockey game in Calgary too.
That's awesome.
I hope it's against the Leafs and we kick your ass.
That would be awesome. I should wait for that game, and we can live.
I'll fly out there for that.
Calgary scored. Yeah.
Well, this is a true Whiskey Fireside chat. I've done.
No, you haven't even.
I've done over 100 of these, and this is a true Whiskey Fireside chat. Because you don't know me very well, but I talk a lot, and you kept me quiet for the last entire.
You don't know why very well. That's normal.
Oh man, I'd go fishing for trout in the Algonquin Park any day with Wyatt. I tell you that. So Mikey, we only got a couple minutes left here, and this is a B-roll. I'm going to add this to the other B-roll. What's next? Like I know what's going on with you, Mikey. You've already got the GoFundMe for your autistic child, but what else though? What else beyond that?
Well, there is some stuff coming up, and I have actually spoken to Wyatt about this, and I want to speak with Alan about it and a couple other people. I'm not really ready to let everybody know, but I promise you, as soon as I am, I will be contacting you. We can do another chat. That'll be fine. But it's in play, but it's not ready yet. You see what I'm saying? But there is something coming away from. Yeah, top secret.
You must be from Georgia. You're very relaxed.
Yeah, it's a way for me to kind of give back to everybody, And I told Wyatt that, and I remember him saying, man, everybody gave to you out of the kindness of their heart, and you're the only one that thinks you need to give it back, And but I feel like I do. I feel like I think I really need to give something back to the people and give something to these kids, man. And it's coming. It's coming.
That's fantastic. What are you, like a best-selling movie, a book, a course? You want to teach a course?
He's gonna build a rifle.
I want to do like a kids thing. I've been talking with my little cousin, man. I always call her my niece. I make that mistake, but I want to join us all, and we want to do cartoons and kids stories and teach, the Mr. Dress Up of the outdoor age. Like that, well, Alan introduced a outdoors program to the curriculum, and as long as there's somebody there to teach it, it's going to be there where he is. And that's the kind of thing I want. I've never been rich, so I'm never going to miss money. I have a happy and prosperous life with the family and friends I have. So like Mikey says, we're the type of people that give back. And,
yeah, that's fantastic. Alan, I'm past outdoor ed person and still working outdoor ed, whatever. And I was so just pumped to see you win and be on the show. What's next for you though?
Well, I've got a few gigs lined up here. I want to get into some speaking opportunities, and I've got 3 coming up. And I've also been invited to a northern school district to help, kind of as a consultant, to help them integrate an outdoor program into their school district. So I'm doing that. I'm doing that in February, and then I'm also going to do a couple talks at the schools in that district. That's just being finalized this week. But yeah, I'd really love to get into keynote speaking about my experience, and yeah, the keynote that I'm writing is called Passion and Perspective, and how just the importance of having a passion in your life, and how my passions for fishing and hunting in the outdoors kind of guided me through my life. Integrating outdoor ed program, getting on the show, all those sort of things. So I just think it's really important for everyone to be passionate about something outside of your career and outside of your family to get everything you can out of life. Because what do you do when you retire? Have you ever heard this from people who retire? I don't want to retire because I don't know what I'm going to do, and that's kind of how passion comes into play. But yeah, I'm just kind of toying around that, and I'm kind of started the YouTube thing too, but it's kind of it's slow.
And
it's
a good
slowly
job
growing.
you're starting.
It's slowly. What's that?
And it's a great job you're starting. Man, your channels are good, both of you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
You're good. I get a lot of compliments from my friends and stuff that truly enjoy and say how and I go, that's them. The genuine, you're just yourselves out there, and that's what matters. There's so much.
It's tough getting started though. It's tough getting. I mean, I put quite a bit of work in it for I don't know, since the show came out, and 2,000 subscribers. That's it, and but it takes years. I'm gonna give her hard for 2 or 3 years and see what happens.
Yeah.
Look at what. Look at Jonas and look at Jordan and even is it Greg? Oh, geez. Greg
Evans.
Yeah.
Greg
Yeah. And nothing happens overnight. And that's what we're meant. You know what? Nothing on the show that got us this far was easy. So why should anyone else be?
100%. 100%. I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Cheers to you.
Right.
Oh, I just
Cheers, guys.
Cheers to you.
I could keep going. This
Here's
is fun.
to you.
I know. Cheers to you guys. Fantastic. Love
Cheers.
Love the community you've created, and hope it continues. And yeah, and cheers to Georgia, by the way.
Appreciate it.
You're always on my mind.
Nice.
Willie.